We get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Pastor Jack Hooker of Village Park Bible Methodist.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the awesome privilege of beginning this meeting in prayer. Thank you for a free country where we can openly and publicly pray to you. We praise you for sustaining each of us day by day by your grace. We praise you for creating us in your image that we may reflect your love to others. Thank you for allowing us to live in this community and to serve the people who reside here. We don't deserve your blessings, but we are so grateful for them. I pray for this council meeting tonight. Those who have been given this responsibility to lead our city need your help to lead us righteously and effectively. Please grant our mayor and city council members wisdom to make good decisions. Grant them courage to stand for what will benefit this city. Grant them patience to work with others. And grant them the humility to admit their limitations. Please also protect and strengthen our first responders who keep us safe and well. Most importantly, may we be guided by your providence, strengthened by your power, and filled with the love you showed us on Calvary. We ask these things in the name and through the merits of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
President Tam, would you like to run the meeting, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, thank you, Pastor, very much for that invocation this evening. Greatly appreciate it. Could we note the presence of quorum?
Kurt Wanninger.
Present.
John Dart.
Here.
Joe Deppner.
Here.
Noah Herron.
Here.
Chad Huff.
Here.
Victor McCarty.
Here.
Patrick Tam.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The next order of business this evening will be the approval of the minutes from July 22nd, 2024. I believe everyone has had a chance to review those. Is there a motion and a second this evening?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 22nd.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Herron. Any discussion? Seeing none, may we call the roll?
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next item of business is the claims docket for August 12th, 2024. We need a motion and a second as well.
Make a motion to approve the claims as submitted. Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Wanninger, seconded by Councilor Dart. Any discussion? Seeing none, may we call the roll?
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Director Todd, do we have any members of the public wishing to address the council this evening? Okay, thank you. We have a special order of business this evening by our Assistant Police Chief, Scott Jordan, on golf cart use expansion. Let me be clear. This is just to start this conversation with regards to a potential golf cart ordinance that we may be considering here in the near future.
Good evening. For the record, Scott Jordan, Assistant Chief of Police. As Councilor said, this is an informational presentation. No action is going to be required by council at all. Know that we've had a couple of meetings in advance with council, city leadership, to explore this possibility in this project. So tonight I'm going to cover the history of the golf cart program, but also some ideas that we have to expand the use in the near future. So a little history. Prior to 2011, golf cart usage was not allowed on public streets. In fact, even today, state law prohibits the use of golf carts on public streets unless a council has an affirmative action for an ordinance to allow it. And that took place in 2011. Since that time, in 2018, that ordinance was amended, but the base ordinance is largely the same. The expansion in 2018 was to include perimeter paths and neighborhood paths in the southeast quadrant of the city, mostly around Bridgewater, Brookside, and Oak Manor, and that has stayed in place until this date. Also, a section of the Midland Trace Trail from Cary Road to Old Town was included in that expansion. At the time when the ordinance was passed, only about 110 to 120 carts a year were part of the program. They were largely in that southeast quadrant. Since that time, we now have over 900 carts in the city, and it grows every year. To date, we have not had any major incidents between a cart and a pedestrian on a city trail or path. We have had incidents, but nothing on our own paths and trails that are significant. I don't know if you can see the heat map. It's just a visual representation of our current registrations in the city. The bottom right is the southeast quadrant. Again, that's the Bridgewater, Brookside, Oak Manor general region. Once Chatham came into the north, that's our second largest area. And then to the south central, we have sporadic registrations through Viking Meadows and the neighborhoods south of 161st Street. This is our current representation of where our carts are. So the problem framing and purpose, generally it's our existing city ordinance, which is almost 14 years old now, is outdated and prevents residents from fully utilizing golf carts to reach parks, schools, restaurants, business districts, and schools throughout the community. Basically, we have a 14-year-old ordinance that hasn't kept up with the times. A course of action has been developed to share priority-based actions, which would result in an updated ordinance and expanded golf cart accessibility in key areas throughout the city. The first action would be to create working groups. It would include community members, city council members, as well as city staff. Almost every city department would be involved in this initiative. Importantly, it involves community members. That's not just golf cart owners, that's all residents, because the ordinance would impact everyone. Additionally, we plan a site visit to Peachtree City, Georgia in the fall. We've already been in contact with our counterparts in Peachtree. Just a quick little history. It's a community just south of Atlanta. In the late 1950s, they created a golf cart community. Today, they have 38,000 residents, 13,000 households, with 11,000 golf cart registrations. To visualize this, their high school has 600 golf cart parking spots. So we really want to visit. We've talked to them on the phone, but we want to learn more about the challenges they've had, the culture of success, what's worked and what hasn't. Again, going back to the community, we want to conduct a listening tour throughout the city, listen to concerns that residents have, try to understand the gaps that maybe we're missing in the existing trail and multi-trail path system, and identify any safety issues that are brought up. Once we do that, going back to the beginning, we really need to rewrite the ordinance. And again, that involves everyone. It's not a police initiative. That's not our job, but we would provide input. The connectivity plan, we already have a large number of wider asphalt perimeter paths. Most of our east-west roads have these wider paths. Some of our north-south roads have them. And our trail system is currently underutilized. We also want to look at the registration strategy. We're still using the same triplicate registration form that we started 14 years ago. There are ways that we can be more efficient, not only for the city, but for the residents. and then a timeline for council action. We've set a pretty aggressive goal for spring of 2025 prior to new registration permits coming out. An important part of this will be to educate and inform the public. Right now, we actually have a lot of people in the south central area of the city that aren't fully familiar with the ordinance. A lot of these wider perimeter paths that I mentioned are already being used. We really just want to catch up to what people are actually doing. Part of the education, though, would talk about the enforcement provisions, the registration and golf cart requirements, and the rules of the road. Peachtree City has an app. They use technology frequently with educating and informing the residents. They also have a mapping program, so that's something we'll look into as well. And finally, there will be a rollout and execution of the plan. Again, I'm here just to provide that initial information, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the council this evening?
Got a couple.
Councilor Dart?
Yeah, just a couple. So 900 registered carts, do we have an idea how many are not registered?
Best guess, anecdotally, I'd say between 100 and 200.
Okay. And then what's required today for insurance? Every cart needs to be insured under homeowners or auto?
Yeah, I can explain that. So we require a liability auto policy as if it was a car or a vehicle. Each inspection is conducted by a police officer currently, and proof of insurance of that liability insurance is required at the time of inspection.
And then speed limits. What are the speed limits? Are there different speed limits depending on the trail or road used?
Yep. Currently, golf carts don't have speedometers, so we don't set the speed limit. What council has done in the past, though, is set that roadway speed limit where carts can be operated at 25 miles an hour or less, with the exception of crossing at a right angle, a roadway that has a higher speed limit. So if a cart is being operated, it has to be basically in a neighborhood currently or a named trail that has been authorized.
Thank you.
Sure.
Look forward to going through this process and getting community engagement. That'll be important. So, Mayor, I don't know if you have decided how you're going to, form that selection or advertise that, or bring people in for that. If you would like to speak on that.
We haven't. The way I look at it, you guys control the ordinance, so I would seek your guidance on how you guys want to
Okay.
staff that. Obviously, we want to get people from all corners of the city involved and a reasonable number that we can actually get something done.
Thank you. I look forward to look at revisiting this ordinance. It's outdated. It needs some improvements to it, and I think it'd be a good benefit to our community. It's just how it's going to be structured at the end. So, thanks.
Any other comments from council this evening? Thank you, Officer Jordan. Thank you for making that presentation. We look forward to working with you and your entire team and the chief as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Moving along to old business this evening, we have ordinance 24-12, which is the Osborne Trail PUD amendment. I believe Director Todd's going to do a brief presentation from just a historical perspective, and then the petitioner, I believe, is also here this evening as well.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, President Tam. Members of the council, good evening. For the record, Kevin Todd with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is a proposed amendment to the Osborne Trails PUD. This encompasses approximately 26 acres of land that is currently zoned for local business use. The proposal, let me switch slides here. Maybe. Nope. Well. What did I do? Anyway, I'll keep going. The proposal includes townhome uses as well as mixture of commercial. Oh, I didn't know that could move. That's a game changer, Chris. Thank you so much. Sorry. So as you'll see, that's a mixture of townhomes to the north side of the project and a commercial block along 191st Street. This also includes development amenities here, kind of centrally located and adjacent to the Whiskey site for use of those patrons. Additionally, wanted to make note that this amendment also includes restricting quite a few number of uses that are permitted today. So that's something to be aware of. From a timeline perspective, this item received its first reading at the City Council meeting on March 25th, had its public hearing at the April 1st Advisory Plan Commission meeting, went to 2 subsequent Plan Commission workshop meetings, and received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission at their August 5th meeting. So with that, this is before you this evening for adoption consideration, and after undergoing a significant amount of revisions throughout the process. As mentioned, the petitioners are here this evening, and I believe would like to make a brief presentation as well. So with that, I'll hand it over to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Council. As a proud Westfield resident and co-founder of West Fork Whiskey Company, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks for your time and attention tonight and over the last 6 months. Tonight, I would obviously like to present our project, but I'd also like to provide some context and history up front. In 2019, West Fork Whiskey Company was looking for a new location to build our forever home. We had many options available in central Indiana and beyond. That said, we chose Westfield. We love Grand Park. We love the growth that the city was seeing. And I selfishly wanted to put my new headquarters in the place I call home. I was tired of that commute downtown. Again, we chose Westfield, and we've invested well over $10 million into making Westfield our new home. But when we chose Westfield, we certainly had plans to do more than just the facility we have today. We wanted to build a site where people could live, work, and play. We wanted a development that would be great, not just for West Fork Whiskey, but for Grand Park visitors and citizens of Westfield and Hamilton County alike. We're proud to be here, and we want to bring more to this community, which brings us to our zoning request. In late 2023, we formally engaged with MI Homes to bring our district to life. We came up with a plan that included townhomes, outdoor amenities, and a commercial development along 191st Street. Original plans called for upwards of 160 townhomes, and the commercial acreage was quite small, as you can see from our original plan there. In February, we started having conversations with City Council and other government officials. Initial feedback, not shockingly, was resoundingly that this is way too much residential and not enough commercial. So we got to work. I've said it many times over the years since our first zoning application in 2020. I'm a firm believer that private businesses working actively with government on development such as this is a really great thing. Our current facility wouldn't be nearly as great as it is today without the feedback from APC and City Council in 2020, as Victor can attest to. The same is true today. Over the last 6 months, we've collaborated with so many different government officials and departments. We've worked with Dane and Kevin in city planning, who've been a massive help. We've worked with Westfield's Director of Economic Development, Janelle Fairman, who has been a tremendous asset and has gone as far as bringing in an outside architecture firm to assist us with this plan. We've worked with APC, who gave us a glowing recommendation 1 week ago today, and we've worked with many of you on the City Council. All of that collaboration, all of those hours and time has gotten us to the plan we have today. Highlights, as you've seen here and what Kevin showed just a minute ago, are as follows. As mentioned, we were told that there was too much residential in this plan. We have reduced the number of townhomes in our plan from roughly 160 townhomes to 110. That equates to nearly a third of the homes being removed from this project. We were told that we didn't have enough commercial area. We have nearly tripled the commercial acreage in this new plan. We were told that our road needed to be moved in order to accommodate future development to our east. Through the many revisions, we have completely shifted our main access road and the entire layout of our district. In all, throughout the last 6 months, we've gone through over 15 major revisions to our plan. And throughout all of this, I've remained confident and hopeful in our project. I've known that as long as we continued to collaborate and share with each other, that we'd be able to find a way to get there in the end. That said, I know there are some of you that still do not like this project. Some of you still want there to be even less residential. To that, I would say that is not economically feasible. Some of you may simply not like townhomes. To that, I would argue that it's important to have housing diversity in our community. Some of you may think that there needs to be more commercial on this site. To that, I would say, me too. My price per acre is much higher on commercial ground than it is residential, so I'm financially incentivized by that. But what amount of commercial development is reasonable on this tall, narrow parcel with a massive gas easement through the middle of it? We've worked with multiple commercial developers this year to look at this project, and their responses have been fairly consistent. They would love to build something right on 191st Street. But anything further north into the property would be very difficult to finance, build, and lease. Successful commercial or retail businesses that don't have frontage on a main thoroughfare are few and far between. But at the end of the day, we are still open to small changes. Can we drop another 30 to 40 townhomes? No, we cannot do that. But can we drop a few? Yes, we can. Councilman Waniger has made a request that we consider a reduction in the number of townhomes by an additional 5 units and slightly modified commercial footprint. Slide, Kev. We believe both of those changes can be completed under the ordinance as it sits before you tonight without further delay, and we would commit to abiding by those modifications. I would respectfully request your approval this evening with the proposed modification in mind. In closing, I would like to say this. We all have big goals for Westfield, and in this case, the area surrounding Grand Park. There's only so much land to develop. In your role as elected officials, you are tasked with safeguarding our community from bad and harmful projects which don't move our community forward. And I'm sure that there are many such projects that don't meet the goals of council, the city, or the residents, and you would be upholding your role by denying them. But this project is not one of them. This project has the support of the Westfield Economic Development Department. This project has the support of the Westfield Advisory Plan Commission. This project is in line with the Grand Park Hunden study. This project is a win for the city of Westfield. Again, thank you for your time this evening. Myself, Council Russell Brown, and Jonathan Isaacs from MI Homes are available for questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Any questions from councilors this evening?
The current,
Councilman.
Kevin, the current exhibit that's up there today is not in our packet. Is that a new version?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And scroll up to the top.
The first version?
No,
This one?
the last version that was submitted.
This one? This is the one that is in your packet and was part of the Plan Commission recommendation.
And then the next one?
No, I don't think that's the concept plan that was approved by the APC 6-1. That was?
Yeah.
The connection point of the bottom is not the same. Am I wrong on that? That is the current one. That's what APC approved.
What's different?
I'm not seeing the difference.
Where the residential ends, there's a connection to the eastern road. If you go back to the other one, there is no connection.
Okay. Here?
So that one, if you go back to the previous one you had, it's not the same.
The one in your packet is the one that was, that the Plan Commission made a recommendation on.
Yeah.
And then the last one that was showing? That one there enlarges the building A concept, and then moves a couple of the properties further to the north.
You said that
So-
reduced five townhomes? That
To
one
be
does?
clear, this cannot be constructed. It would only be 5 units there, because that shows 6. It can only be 5 under the ordinance. So that, we figured that out en route tonight, that couldn't be constructed as 6 units immediately adjacent to the commercial. It could only be 5.
Kevin, if APC accepted the other one, can the council?
Well, that's a good question. I'll let Caitlin weigh in on that.
So we've talked about this before with PUDs. If you go through all of the statutes and find the correct one it cites to, it says the council may adopt or reject the proposal. To me, that doesn't say adopt, reject, or modify. But it does say that the council, as the legislative body, when working with PUDs, can impose reasonable conditions or require written commitments. So I think there's certain things that the council can ask and that they can commit to, but I would say that you can't modify this, what the APC has approved, if that makes sense.
So the commitment we would offer, we would reduce the overall number of units on, that would be the commitment that we would offer. So down to, it's 105, correct? 105 would be the number that we've reduced to. And it's my belief, and I will not speak for your planning staff, it's my belief that our obligation under the PUD ordinance is a site plan that is substantially compliant with that previously provided. The reorientation of a building and the elimination of that's a determination. I believe there's substantial compliance because we're reorienting one building and eliminating units. That is how we believe we can move forward tonight, but we would commit, in line with Caitlin's comments, that we would have 5 fewer townhome units. That would be a commitment we would be willing to make. In addition, not mentioned tonight, but part of yours, we have made the commitment related to rental restrictions that has been previously required by the council.
So your PUD says 120 units inside of it. The concept plan, I'm confused with the concept plans, but the concept plan that was approved by APC showed 110 units. This concept plan shows 105 units. And then you also said, Caitlin, that the council cannot modify the concept plan. So I heard from you, what you said, that it would have to go back through APC to modify the concept plan. You can't just comment that you want 5 less units or make a commitment, right?
I can make a commitment that that's restrictive, more restrictive than what's offered, and that generally would be permissible in my experience. I'm not your counsel, but that generally would be permissible.
I would say if it was a written commitment in compliance with the statute made here to the council, that would be okay. What I think is not okay would be a vote on, I vote to modify this. Does that, I think they can do a written commitment here specifically to the council.
I kind of lost still, I guess, what you said. You're saying that we can do the commitment, but then we can't modify the concept plan.
Yes, so basically you have to vote to approve or reject what the APC approved, I think voted 6-1 or something like that. But then there can be separate written commitments from the petitioner here saying that they commit to do X, Y, and Z in conformance with the statute discussing written commitments, which I could pull up in just a
But
second.
that would take place at a different meeting?
No, that would not take place at a different meeting. It would take place here, and then it would be formalized as all written commitments are, because I think there's some written commitments to the APC, some to the council. So it would be stylized in the same way, and that would be made here tonight.
It would be a separate document in addition to the PUD ordinance.
Yes.
The PUD ordinance would not change, cannot change, right? Because the Plan Commission took action on it. But what this would do, this additional commitment would effectively change how we look at the maximum number of units on this particular project.
And it would be enforceable by the body that it's made
It would
to.
be recorded with
Be recorded,
the,
yes.
you know, at the same time as the PUD ordinance, probably cross-referenced. I mean, they would be tied together.
And that's the same for the commercial increase too? I mean, it seems like it's changing, not just residential, it's changing commercial amounts as well.
I'm not aware if there's a written standard in the PUD limiting, I mean, I think what we're talking about is a written standard in the ordinance that puts a restriction or a limit on something, in this case, the amount of units. I don't think there's that same standard in place for commercial space. So I think it's, you know, it's a question of, at the time of development, and frankly, I mean, this is all going to shift around a little bit once development actually gets designed and engineered. I mean, these buildings may not look exactly like this at the end of the day anyway. So things inherently shift between zoning approval and development. So buildings, you know, get bigger, get smaller, they change orientation one way or the other. That's part of this a little bit. I mean, within reason, if it's a dramatic change, especially a reduction of something, or sorry, an increase in, you know, road cuts, or a reduction in landscaping, or a dramatic reduction in the amount of square footage, we would make the call, look, this is too much of a change, you have to go back through the process. If it's within some reasonable margin of comparing the two, then they could advance forward with the development plan without needing additional.
So the PUD language still reads right now 120 units. So so that would supersede what the concept plan is showing, since you're saying if they made modifications, they could increase the amount of units that they could fit them in somewhere else?
Probably not. What we would do in that case, since the site plan shows less units than what the text of the ordinance, I mean, the text always controls. However,
Yeah.
if we look at an actual building layout that shows, you know, something that's inconsistent with this and gets them to that larger unit count, I think we would still look at it and go, yeah, that's not substantially similar to this.
Yeah. I guess that just brings me to my next point is, that's why I kind of requested that you guys take a couple weeks and kind of discuss this with us a little bit more. And it seemed like you guys didn't really want to take that option. And so to kind of bring these changes right now, right, I mean, at this point when we were kind of open to going down the road with you for the next couple of weeks and taking these points into consideration, it doesn't, I mean, I think it's unacceptable to make these changes at this time.
If I could weigh in too, not that I have a vote here, but just some context. In the past, when I was on council, we did make changes like this that was documented. So there's a standard, and we've done this in the past. The other piece is where you see the commercial. In the past, you would see a big pink blob that would say Commercial Area A. And I think we've all agreed as we took office that we wanted to be more thoughtful in how we do commercial. So keep in mind, this is taking it to a level that has not customarily happened in Westfield with our developments. So I don't think it hurts to do that. Now, saying all that, I will say one more time, I think this process has been very discombobulated. It's been a moving target since it came before us. There's been iteration after iteration. We have drawings that don't match wording. This has been a complete disaster. Whether you guys approve it or not, it's up to you. I think the project in itself, from the city's perspective, is appropriate. But I hope we don't repeat this again, because this is not how we do development in Westfield. And I'm not happy that here we are in this meeting, and we still have documents that aren't lining up. And we told you guys when you came before us that we really need to have a more solid plan before it got into this process, because I was fearful this is exactly what would happen. So I'm not happy, but we're here, and we need to vote on it. So with that, I'll shut my mouth.
So hypothetically, a motion to approve with commitments, is that how we would proceed?
I would say a motion to approve and execute this written commitment as you've discussed here.
It'd be similar to what we already did this year with Ravinia, getting commitment for fishing pier that was requested, and then also the towns at Union where additional masonry on the siding was requested. So it'd be very similar as we already have the request for rental restrictions. It'd just be an additional document to that.
Yeah, Councilor McCarty, thank you for that. That's absolutely correct. We've done that on 3 projects. Any further discussion from council? Any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I guess we'll take a stab at it. So, a motion to approve ordinance 2412 Osborne Trail PUD with special commitments to be made to reduce the number of residential units by 5 and to increase the size of building A.
Do we amend the text in the PUD to 105 units then if it's at 120 right now too?
I don't think we can. Yeah, we don't think we can amend the PUD ordinance once the Plan Commission has taken action.
I think it's a weird area of the law. I don't think it's super clear, but to me, it's just you approve and you reject, but then you have this ability to do written commitments, which allows certain things like we're discussing now.
Well, and the commitment will be precedent
Yes.
over what the text is in the.
It's recorded, it's
PUD.
enforceable, it's a commitment from the developer made to the council.
It's something we'll track
Yes.
as this development comes through subsequent approvals.
I missed what you said, Victor. What'd you say?
The commitment will take precedent over the language in the PUD. I'll second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Deppner, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Any further conversation? Seeing none, may we call the roll?
Noah Herron.
No.
Chad Huff.
No.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
No.
John Dart.
No.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Motion to approve fails 4-3.
We'll move to new business at this time, which is ordinance 24-28, annexing certain real estate to the city of Westfield, Hamilton County, Indiana, otherwise known as the Winterberg development. This evening.
Thank you, President. Good evening, council members. For the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The item before you is a 100% voluntary annexation request for the recently zoned Winterberg development area. The Winterberg Planned Unit Development District was established via approval of Ordinance 24-05 at the City Council's April 9th meeting. The total compiled annexation area is about 206 acres in size. The parcels are generally located on the south side of 193rd Street, west of Casey Road, and north of 186th Street, seen in more detail within the provided location map exhibit. This item is noticed for a public hearing this evening and has been properly noticed and advertised. It will be eligible for adoption at your second August meeting in 2 weeks' time, where the fiscal plan will also be presented. I'm available for questions, as is the petitioner who is also here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collingwood. Greatly appreciate it. Any questions this evening? Reminder, this is an ordinance. We'll have a fiscal plan, as Mr. Collingwood just said, at our next council meeting for consideration. The next order of business is Resolution 24-1.
There was a public hearing on that one tonight, right?
There is a public hearing. You know what? I'm just trying to move through the agenda too quick. It
all
clearly
good.
says it on
I'm
the
here.
agenda. Thank you. So, we do have a public hearing this evening. My apologies to those in the audience and those listening. On ordinance 24-28, which is regards to annexation of the Winterberg development into the city of Westfield. We'll open up the public hearing this evening at 7:39. And we will close the public hearing at 7:39 as well. And to our lawyer, have we met the requirement? Thank you. Thank you for keeping us straight, too. I appreciate it. We will not start meetings without you present. Resolution 24-132, approval of GPSE to operate Grand Park and authorize the city to enter into a public-private partnership agreement, a PPA. We do have a presentation by Director Deck this evening. There is a resolution that's drafted on there. It would make the public aware that under our legal counsel for the city council, there's been conversations with specifically regarding Indiana Code 5-23-6-1, Section B. For those of you in the audience that can recite code and verse of Indiana Code, which I don't expect you to be present, the reality is how lease terms over 5 years of what that appears to be. Expect some draft changes on that resolution, so the one that is before you for public consumption will be changed to some degree moving forward for consideration. We will not be voting on that resolution this evening, but we will be conducting Mr. Director Deck as well as opening it up to any and all public comment this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you, President Tam. And for the record, Matthew Deck, Director of Facilities and Events for the City of Westfield, here to talk tonight about the potential selection of Grand Park Sports and Entertainment, GPSE, to operate Grand Park. First, a couple of thank yous. A big thank you to past Grand Park teams and staffs and the current Grand Park staff, whom without them we would not be in this position to discuss potential opportunities for Grand Park, as they have done tremendous work. Thanks to Mayor Cook and his administration and their selection of the Operations Review Committee, who spent hours and hours and hours combing through potential opportunities for the park. And that included Larry Clarino, Chuck Lehman, Dan Moyer, Troy Patton, and Brian Tomamichael. So why GPSE? GPSE's bid was the only one that allowed retaining ownership of Grand Park while an operator used their own resources to take the park into the future. GPSE is a joint venture between Bullpen Tournaments and Indy Sports and Entertainment, who owns Indy 11, both of which have a depth of knowledge and understanding of Grand Park and have contributed to its success in the past. GPSE also brings a relationship for the development and real estate expertise of the Keystone Realty Group. GPSE's existing relationships with the NCAA, FIFA, Big Ten Conference, Horizon League, IHSAA, United Soccer League, Major League Soccer, and the MLB will lead to future opportunities, even as we have already seen with Grand Park and Westfield being selected as a base camp site for the 2026 World Cup. GPSE brings an exciting vision for the park and the expertise to ensure Grand Park remains the premier destination for youth sports. GPSE will be making guaranteed annual payments that will more than double the current profit at Grand Park. The city will no longer pay for maintenance or operations costs and can use revenue generated to invest in a Grand Park Village or other investments in the city. Partnering with GPSE will allow for the continuation of allowing residents free admission, and GPSE will continue to partner with WYSI, even allowing for an increase in diamond and field usage. Aligning with GPSE also allows the city to unwind difficult contracts that would be impossible to do with another organization. So we appreciate your consideration for this resolution, allowing GPSE to take over operations at the Grand Park Sports Campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Deck. Any questions of Director Deck this evening? Seeing none, we'll move to public comment. Would remind those addressing the council this evening, you have 3 minutes for public comment. Obviously, you can submit anything and everything you would like to submit in writing as well, or additional documents. At the same time, it's 3 minutes of public comment. It's not necessarily a Q&A engagement process, just like our council rules outlay. It is 3 minutes to address the council, and we'll take all the consideration as we move forward. And I would kindly remind you, this is simply the resolution that will be amended is simply regards to the selection process. It is not a public-private agreement. It is not part of the contract at this time. It is simply straight up the selection and negotiation of who the city negotiates with moving forward as it pertains to Grand Park this evening. So we'll open up the public comment this evening at 7:45. Director Todd, we have some folks I know. Can you go ahead?
We have one card at the moment, Chad Schinkel.
Thank you. My name's Chad Schenkel. I'm the board president for Westfield Youth Sports. I'm here to first and foremost thank council for the consideration of Westfield Youth Sports throughout these negotiations, and thank Matt and their team for consideration in the increase in not only diamond usage but also field usage. As you guys can imagine, our demand of our services for the youth in Westfield is continuing to increase, and the commitment for the increase in usage of Grand Park certainly helps that. So appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to address the council this evening?
Okay, just letting you know. Linda Nass, 1122 East 161st Street, prior member of the RDC. So as I read this resolution and looked back at the RFP, which I was on the commission when that was presented, and also looking at the reference in this resolution is Indiana Code 5-23. We're just not even following the process here. If you read 523, and I'm going to leave copies with you, and the first 7 pages of the RFP, I'm going to leave copies of that for you. But literally, the second whereas says, the city previously issued a request. Well, actually, it was the RDC. The third whereas, again, it was the RDC that received responses and convened the committee. And in order to make a recommendation to the council or the board, well, according to the Indiana Code, the board is defined otherwise. I've listed that code for you. This is all 523, which is called public-private agreements. You get to the fourth whereas, and my question is it bullpen tournaments or is it bullpen ventures? Because originally on the RFP and what we got was the ventures and the Indy Sports and Entertainment LLC. When we get down to the bottom of the first page, now therefore be it resolved. Number 2, selection. Under a PPA, which we don't have one, as far as I understand from what was said tonight and what I've seen in the past. Number 3, documentation. There seems to be no council oversight. This says that the board authorizes the city executive and staff acting in consultation with legal counsel and on behalf of the city to negotiate, finalize, and execute the PPA. Well, if you go back to the Indiana Code, we're not even supposed to be having a public hearing until the PPA is done. Because in this code, under 523.59, it talks about the public hearing when we have it. 523-510 states that the proposal and a written explanation should be made available. I'm sorry, am I touching your keyboard? It's all good. We'll get it figured out. Okay. It says that when that public notice goes out for the public hearing, that all the documents have to be available for inspection and copying at least 7 days prior. You haven't even made you haven't even made the agreement. There is no PPA. When you go over to, and if you read the 523 and you read the RFP, the council didn't have a part in that. It was the council, it was the committee. Number 4, other actions. The last part of the last sentence says, any such actions taken, including any documents or certificates executed and delivered, hereby are ratified, confirmed, and approved. That's not allowed in this process, and I'm talking Indiana code. I'm not talking about what any other process anybody made up.
Thank you, Mrs. Nas.
Many
3 minutes.
questions on
3
that.
minutes is expired.
And I'd like to yield my time to her if I can.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Strom, that's not how this works. So,
I would just ask that you follow the processes, because this is not per the RFP, nor is it per Indiana Code 520.
thank you.
I will leave you copies of these.
So we open up the public hearing at 7:45 this evening. Is there anyone else that is wish to address the council this evening? I'd like to remind, seeing no one else, I'll close the public hearing at 7:51. I would like to remind everyone, in my opening remarks, I did reference Indiana Code 5-23, and that the language in front of you this evening would be changed. So thank you. We do have separate legal counsel as well for the city council, so do anticipate those changes as well. So moving on, we've closed the public hearing piece. This will be eligible for future consideration at a future council meeting, and we thank those that chose to speak this evening as well. Moving along to ordinance 24-29, the Police Department Merit System Commission. This is going to be introduced this evening by Chief Keene, as well as our legal counsel, Caitlin Glazier, as well. Chief?
Do you want me to start with a little statutory background? Okay. So this deals with a merit system and a merit commission for the police department. There is currently not one in place here. There is for the fire department. Indiana law allows you, the council, to create by ordinance a merit system, a merit commission, and all of that is outlined pretty thoroughly in the statute. Basically, the merit system provides specific rules and procedures for officer applications, hiring procedures, promotions, any kind of disciplinary hearings, termination, things like that. If this is created, there would be a merit commission of 5 commissioners, 2 appointed by the mayor, 2 by the police department, and 1 by the council. And the commission would deal with creating rules and the disciplinary hearing, things of that nature. If you do pass this at the end of the month, it still goes to the police department members for a vote, a referendum. They'll have a private vote where one of the members runs the meeting. And I'll also note that there's actually a new law taking effect. It's already taken effect, but effective January 1 of next year, for police departments of our size, you would have to vote and say you don't want a merit system, and then it would go to our police officers, and they would have to vote it out too. So that we're kind of getting ahead of it a little bit here, ahead of January 1. If it's passed at the end of the month, the procedure would basically be that the Board of Public Works and Safety has to give notice of a meeting for the members, and then, like I said, they get together and they get to vote ultimately if they do want this for their department. They get to see the ordinance, take the vote, and if adopted, it doesn't take effect until January 1 of next year, and then appointments to the commission are in March. Hope that didn't take too much.
Mr. President, members of the council, Sean Keene, Chief, Westfield Police Department. As Caitlin kind of explained the legal parts of it, my experience in this matter is I've worked the last 26 years under a merit system. I've never known a different way. I think this is a natural progression as we grow as a city, is to move into having a merit system, a merit board in place. I think we're the only city left of our size in the county that does not have a merit system. The fire department already does. But I do have 26 years experience working with one. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding a merit system.
Thank you, Chief, and it's great to see you here this evening. I think it's the first time that we've had the pleasure of having you at an official council meeting, as if we haven't seen you all over the place, and appreciate it. Any questions for the Chief this evening?
Not a question, just wanted to say thank you for bringing this forward. So.
Thank you.
Yes, Police Chief, I've got a couple of questions, just, well, more for clarification than anything else.
Sure.
It says, under Section 4, Commissioner requirements, a commissioner may not receive any remuneration as salary from the city, okay? And then it says, the council shall, upon the recommendation of the Safety Board, determine a per diem to be paid to each commissioner for each day of actual service for the commission. Do we do that for any other commissions in the city? Do we pay a per diem?
I would assume that you do so for the fire department merit board.
Okay.
Since this would mirror that.
And then just for clarification here, it says the commission shall submit a proposed annual budget to the city as other city budgets are submitted. The council shall include in its budget an amount sufficient for the necessary expenses of the commission.
So the only expenses that I'm aware of, they'll have legal expenses because they'll have to have a separate attorney other than the city attorney.
But is that, it sounds like it goes into our budget?
Well,
That's the way
I
it-
think we budgeted for.
Is it the way it's worded?
I think it's worded wrong. I don't necessarily think it has to come out of the council budget. I think
Because it says
just
the
means-
council shall include in its budget an amount sufficient for the necessary expenses of the commission.
I would assume that means when you pass a budget.
It's inartfully worded, but you'll see that where it's actually referring to in its budget, as in the budget that the city council approves. It's poor language, which we can clean that up.
In my experience, it's always been in the police department's budget. That's the way I've done it prior to coming here for 26 years. It's always been in our budget. We process those claims. And I think that's the way we
Would make
budgeted
sense, yeah.
going into next year.
Yeah, if we could clean that up, that'd be fantastic.
Police budget as approved by the council would be the
And the
better
chief
language.
made a good point that I would not represent the merit commission because if there's a disciplinary issue, I would represent the police department and the chief. So that would be really important that the commission pick their own attorney because there's a lot of startup work to do all these rules. So it'll be an initial lift and then it won't be as much as meetings go along.
One other point of clarification, it says, Section 8, appointment and removal of a department member. It says the commission may appoint and remove department members except for a member in an upper-level policy-making position. The mayor shall appoint and may remove a member in an upper-level policy-making decision. Is that?
Correct.
How do you declare?
So
or how do you-
statutorily, the definition for upper level policymaking is 2 ranks below the chief for any department that has 51 officers or more.
Okay. Could we add that to, just for clarification?
It's within the statute.
Yeah,
It's
there's a
defined in the
statute that's, we've discussed it before. I'm fine to include it, but it's out there. It would
Okay.
trump all this anyways.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions this evening? It is an ordinance, so this will be eligible for consideration at the next council meeting. But I do thank you, Chief Keen. I do think for even just stopping some of your officers as I'm out at Grand Park and other places. It does provide a lot of certainty for career growth and really, and also provides a variety of protections as well if the unfortunate situation may arise, but really truly defines a professional career path, which I think in your opening remarks were very efficient and said that exactly. So thank you very much, and we look forward to considering this at our next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any city council comments this evening? Seeing none, Mayor?
Nothing from my end.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, do we have any APC? I didn't see it. You got to flag me.
You're just jumping straight through. I mean,
We'll go right back to
relatively-
APC update. Yeah, because all of a sudden I was like, we usually have.
yeah, relatively quick. Last week, we just had one item of business, which was the Osborne Trails Amendment that was voted on tonight. And then under new business, we had the Westfield Yard PUD that's at the southwest corner of State Road 32 and Gray Road, and then the Finley Creek Estates PUD that is generally near the northeast corner of 193rd and Fremont. Both of those will be at workshop next month.
Thank you, Councilor McCarty. I appreciate that. My apologies. Any other comments? Going once, going twice. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned.